what's happening, guys? Rockin' Dave from North Fort Myers, Southwest Florida. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I was trying to get something going earlier with my PV Trans 2 Bandit, but it's been sitting for a little while, and the volume pots are a little bit scratchy, so I have to kind of clean those out. It is the original Trans Tube Bandit. I bought that in 1996, and I remember I had to wait for it to get shipped to the store because it was their new model. So it's what they call, or Shane from In the Blues calls, the Silver Stripe. That was their first versions of the Trans Tube model. But I am hooked up to another amp, and what I'm going to be doing today is going over what you think sounds the best. Okay, a multi-effect unit plugged into a powered PA speaker. Mr. Jim Geetrid, thank you for tuning in. David Enos, thank you for tuning in. Looks like we got 7 people watching. I think so, yes. Maybe it's each person just doing it 7 times. Who knows? Plus, I did the unthinkable. I put 10s on this. I went from the 11s to the 10s. And the only reason why I did that is I had an extra pack of 10s laying around. Usually I like the 11s. And because I have 9s on the Ibanez, where's it at? It's over here somewhere. On this guy, because it's, I think it's this longer scale. And the 9s almost feel like 10s. At least for my picking. My fretted hand got strong over the years of this constant playing. Hey, what is happening? JK House of Harleys, dude. We got JJ's House of Jams. We got JJ's House of Harleys. How you doing, my friend? Adam EVH, it is always good to see you, buddy. Jim Geetridge, the love 11s. Yeah, I do too, Jim. The 11s do give a little bit of a thicker, meatier tone, meatier sound. On my BC Rich Warlock here, which, we'll be busting out that again. I actually got, 12s on here? 12s to a 56. It is dropped to a drop D, but I notice if I put 11s on here, drop D, it's not as heavy sounding as the 12s. It does have a punchier sound. Well, if you use anything like with a guitar synthesizer, you're going to notice the difference. Mr. Sean, how are you doing out there, buddy? I really appreciate you guys tuning in, because the debate always rages on, right? Son Zimmerman, what is happening? So yeah, I put these on yesterday, lowered the action just slightly, because I personally, I got so used to higher action because of classical guitar and, acoustic guitar. I don't really need for my picking technique. I don't need anything touching the frets or light strings or anything like that. It does have a place. It will serve a purpose, especially if you're doing a lot of two-hand tapping, a lot of legato playing. Everything serves a purpose. Mitch, what has happened? Is that Mitch Heyman? I believe it is. The chats go by real quick, my friends. After a while, the eyes can't catch up with everything. With everything, right? Mitch Heyman, good seeing you, my friend. How is your Yamaha amp doing? And I think, Mitch, you also have the Ibanez Prestige. You and EJ's guitars out of Texas have that blue burst Prestige with the ash body. That almost looks like it's maple, but it's ash. They do have another version of that that's not Prestige. The exact setup. So yeah, but yeah, I hope that's working out good for you, man. Because I know you have, Mitch Heyman has the Yamaha THR10X, the metal version. This black version, that is the C. I call it for classic amps. So they might call it combo amps. I call it for the classic amps because it's really mimicking a lot of the classic amps. Yeah. Oh yes, been using the Katana 100 mostly now. Do you have the Katana head, or is it the 1 or 212 version? Because I plugged into a 50 watt version of that That little katana was an ass kicker, man. Light. Holy crap. Right now, I am plugged into my Hughes and Kettner Edition Blue 60R. Well, it's really ours. Everything that's mine is ours because my lovely wife does. You know, we're partners in crime, except it's not crime. Everything we do is legal, right, Deb? It's legal and it's moral. So the Hughes and Kettner. Hello to Deb. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it, man. Oh, the one with the 112-inch speaker. Nice, nice. Jason Wade, how you doing? Oh, you ordered the DXR 10. I'll tell you what, man. You know, the metal version of that Yamaha is awesome. It is totally awesome. It has it's got some killer sounds. The only reason why I wanted to grab this, first of all, it was a closeout. They only sell for $99. I walked in at Guitar Center. You guys are gonna love this story. I was on my way to trade in a couple of old DoD pedals that, thank God, I had actually some other duplicates of them. So it wasn't like it'd be a miss, but they were USA made pedals. And I still have a whole crap load of other USA made DoD pedals. And I figure, you know what? I'm just gonna see what they say. I'm not gonna expect anything, right? Oh, Jason Wade says, tell Mrs. Deb we say hi. Deb says hi to everyone. So, I'm on my way. I think I had a chorus and, yeah, a DoD chorus pedal, you know, with the big knobs. The big knobs and one of my distortion boxes. USA made. So, I'm on my way, and I brought in my lawsuit guitar. But the lawsuit guitar, I have it in an Alvarez case. So, I'm on my way to Guitar Center. I'm in the parking lot walking up, and there's a guy I think he was from Romania or something. And he stops me and he's asking me about my Alvarez. And I told him, he says, well, nah, it's just an Alvarez case. I have, we're live again, got booted, now we're back on. Okay, as I was saying, I'm on my way into the center, and the guy spots the Alvarez case and asked me if I had the Alvarez electric guitar in there. I said, no, I have the Gibson Epiphone lawsuit, which is this. Like the Paul Reed Smith, you know? That now everyone could build a Paul Reed Smith. As long as you're not from America and you could slap whatever name you want on there and you're in business, right? So, and he thought, wow, that's a nice guitar. And then I was telling him about my pedals. That I'm going to take my pedals in, and I said, you know, I'm not expecting anything. Just wanted to see, right? So he tells me, that's pretty interesting because, you know what? I'm in the process of building pedals. I said, really? He said, what do you have? Because I had them in a Walmart bag, you know. Nothing special, right? I said, I just got these. And he looked at him and says, oh, are they USA made? I says, yeah, matter of fact, they are. He said, they look old. I says, yeah, I had them since like the mid to late 1980s. Really? So, first of all, he could tell that they're legit because the older pedals had the male jack plug-in for the adapter. So it's not like the adapters we have now that it's male female. This was actual male. So he knew it was legit. And then he asked me, well, what do you want for them? I says, you know what, basically whatever I could get for them. He says, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $80 for them right now. I said, are you kidding me? I says, yeah, right now. I said, well, you want to go in and plug them in, make sure they work? He says, I don't care. I said, really? He said that, yeah, because he works on pedals, and what he does is, what is happening, and this is part of the reason why we're seeing such a surge in all these effect pedals. And, you know, you have people that are either they're buying old pedals or they have old pedals, or they're taking them apart, they're getting the chips, they're getting the boxes, they're putting them together and marketing them and selling them themselves, you know, under another name, or they're just using them as a research, you know, trying to learn how do we make pedals. So he gave me $80 for those two pedals. And he says, yeah, well, back in my country, I turn around, I could make my money back easily with these. Because, you know, over in Europe, American-made products are, especially if they're old from the 80s, they're real big. So, okay. So I took the $80 and the 20 and I bought the little Yamaha. Yeah, it's really interesting, you know. But But yeah, so I'm plugged into my Hughes and Kettner, our Hughes and Kettner, and basically, this is what. Maybe it's not a really good comparison because my PV Bandit has close to a Fender Twin sound. So really, is the debate, is guitar amps better than multi-effect units? And really, it's going to be a matter of opinion. Now, yesterday, so you got a nice punchy sound. Actually, the 10s don't feel too bad. I'm surprised. You know, but I like a nice tighter tension for my picking. When I play, see, I don't have a pick guard, so I have to file my third fingernail because I still have my nails for when I do classical guitar. Michael Bishop, what is happening? Good seeing you, buddy. Save you a little overdrive. And I do have my coil tapping activated here. Zach Thong, hey, thank you for tuning in. And actually, I got my gain at 11 o'clock, my master volume at 12, and then the master volume on the channel at like 10 or something, maybe even less. So, so there's this guy named Robert's Guitar Dungeon. He had something on. He posts up videos every Wednesday and every Saturday, and I watched the video he posted up. Well, I guess this was a little while ago. Okay, Soda Pop, what's happening? Good seeing you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate it. But Robert's Guitar Dungeon had this debate about these different myths, and one of the myths was is vintage amps or vintage gear better than new gear? And since he worked in retail, he knows both sides of the coin as far as a perspective of reselling, because he had a video on how the used gear market works, and it's a great video. So if anyone wants to check it out, I recommend subscribe to his channel because he's got some really good insight. And you might not get any of that insight from anyone else unless a person's worked at a music store and they know that side of the coin. And he definitely knows that side of the coin. But I agree with him about the vintage gear. Because when I was at Guitar Center playing that 1979 Fender Twin, which I didn't realize was in 79, I thought it was a lot earlier. Paul, how are you? Paul, it's good seeing you, man. I want to give a good shout out to everyone out there that subscribed to my channel and my new subscribers. I will be, make my way through your channels and videos and posting up comments and, be giving a good shout out to all you guys because I really appreciate it. Let's see. Jason Way, you said about been doing the same thing with the new Katana 50 I got recently. Yeah, a little bit with the controls, but yeah, it does sound good because I plugged in that little 50-watt amp Katana and I was blown away. I'm like, how loud it is, how much sustain I was getting, how light it is. And basically, this Hughes and Kettner is 60 watts RMS, but it's solid state. And we do know that tube power is got more push than solid state. But there's always the pros and cons, That's what's happening. Oh, Watchman for you. Hey, well, how you doing, buddy? Good seeing you. Thank you for tuning in. I think, yeah, Robert's Guitar Dungeon. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did manage. Mitch Heyman's got a comment about Robert's Guitar Dungeon. I think he managed a Guitar Center at one time. Yeah, I think he said he did. And that's why he's got that insight. But I agree with him. You know, I agree with him in part, and I'm sure he'll agree with this statement I'm going to say. Vintage guitars definitely. Um, there's something about the wood over the time, course of time. The wood feels like, to me, I just call it like it compresses or something. Maybe that's not the right terminology, but as it ages, it just seems to have a certain tone that. Okay, I'm back. Got booted, now I'm back, right? Yeah, Adam EVH, aged guitars definitely have mojo. Definitely. Man, I if I had a choice to buy a used guitar or a used amp, I'd go for the guitar first, because the amplifier, since it's electronics and what was happening with this Fender Twin, it just needed a lot of cleaning, and I think maybe the speakers might have needed to be replaced or something, because it was not like, wow, that's a vintage Twin, man. That sounds great, and for the price they were asking for it, the little Fender Super Champ HD sounded better than that Twin, and they're only asking $250 for it. The Fender Super Champ times two, the new version, has its only upgrade was it's got a little switch for tap tempo, and it's got a USB port, so if you want to plug it into a computer. But it's definitely all tubes, and it's got a great sound, you know. Um, but the debate between vintage and new stuff is it's kind of hit or miss, because one thing with the vintage stuff, it holds its time. You know, it'll hold its value, but it'll hold the test of time. But that's only if someone's taking care of it, especially with amplifiers, because the wiring, the pots, everything, man, it's crazy. Get very expensive to fix too. So the let's see, I had an old oh yeah, Silverface Twin, one owner that only played it. Oh yeah, at the VHW or VFW, once or twice a year. Lost it in a pawn shop for $100. Yeah, that's what you'll get for some of the stuff, my friends. If you go to the pawn shop, I don't really know too much about now, but it might be about the same, because I used to work in a pawn shop, and if I were to bring this in back in the day at a pawn shop, $100 loan, maybe $200, and it's not a Chinese Gibson. And that's another subject I'll talk about in a little bit, because you know, if I remember. But that's the reality is that the value of it goes down. It's only valuable in a market where you're gonna have people bidding on it. Because you ever watch, I'm sure you know, with Pawn Stars, a guy walks in with some, let's say if this was a 1959, he'll tell you the value of it. But that is not what they're going to give you, because they have to turn around and resell it, and that's what Robert's Guitar Dungeon was talking about. And that's why I like watching his channel, because he's definitely got some good stuff. And another thing is, with a lot of the newer stuff, you know, time has moved on and technology has advanced. Old man Dan, what's happening, my friend? See, that's what I said. I looked like I was looking in the mirror. I had just put these 10s on yesterday, so when your video was on, I was doing a little picking to make sure you stretched out. And then we got two little kitties, and then I was watching the rest of your live stream when I was feeding the two little kittens. They're like this big, you know. I mean, they're babies. So I had my, remember Meet the Fockers, you know? The man boob. I had the man boob on and everything. I think Jorge was even helping me out on that one. So, but yeah, I mean, I love vintage gear, especially when it's, taken care of. You love it when you could get a better deal on it, definitely. But Mr. Hartley Peavy made an interesting statement when the Tone King was interviewing him, and the Tone King asked him, "Why don't you reissue your 80s, like the solo series? The Special 130, Special 150, the Bandit 65 and the Heritage, the Classics with the phase shifter, and then reissue that. And he says he doesn't really want to do that because his analogy was one of his birthdays, his wife and the family pitched in, and I can't remember, was it 1967 Chevy, not 57, maybe it was a 57, but I thought he said 67, and that was his dream car. So now, because he said he remembered, wow, what a great car that was, man, back in the day. But now it's like 25 years later or something like that. And they pitched him, give him the car, and he's driving the car around, and he's like, wow, this is kind of a rough rider, And then he started to think, he said, maybe these weren't all that great after all. And he said, basically, he said that our perception of that time, it was great for that time, but see, time moves on. Things always evolve. Things always change, Now, there is something different. Mr. Big Dan Hall, how are you? It's always good seeing you. No problem. Oh, cooking? No problem, my friend. I apologize about, busting in on dinner. It is, well, this is what time it is. It's 20 minutes to 8 Eastern time. But you see, sometimes I like to say, for the millennials, and I'm not picking on anybody. This is just a joke, guys. The big hand is on the 8, and the little hand's on the 8. So, there you go. But there is a difference between you plug into a decent guitar amp that's got some muscle and some push, and an effect unit. And I think Old Man Dan, you were explaining that with these plugins, because you also mentioned about Steve from Boston was running something through his plugin, and I watched a video of, I forget what the brand guitar it was. It was like a green curly maple finish. Nice guitar. And I made a comment because I thought it was plugged into that PV Viper, and I said, hey, you get a pretty good sound of that Viper. Michael B, what's happening? Backwards, Cam, so yeah. Well, you know what it is, guys? It's backwards, but because we have it facing. Because when we do our live shows, and when Deb flips the camera around, then it goes back into regular mode. So I'm wondering if it's just something that it's a combination of what's going on with YouTube and our phones, So, because I can't see them just sitting on this forever and letting it just go forever, Maybe they're getting a kick out of it, who knows, right? GTV Guitars, what's happening? I can always dry heat. What's happening? Good seeing you, man. For some reason, I feel like I always do better standing up or when I sit in the classical. Because a lot of times that's what I do, sit in the classical position. And these are just stock pickups in this. This is a 2013 Gibson. They call this the Les Paul Standard Plus. EJ Guitars, what's happening, buddy? I know you're a Gibson guy, as well as an Ibanez guy. If it stays in tune, it's a good guitar. Always remember that. You'll see what I mean. Foulfish, what's happening? Foulfish, your icon looks almost similar to Ed Dana's icon. So sometimes if I gotta look to make sure it's either you or Ed Dana. But how you doing, Mr. Fish? Thank you for tuning in. It's always good seeing you, man. Ha! EJ, you're drinking, huh? Oh, you're driving. You're drinking and driving. Yeah, I hear you, man. Kind of, yeah, you gotta be careful when you're driving. Police love us, right? Oh, you're Epiphone. Hey, you know what? I've got a white Epiphone Les Paul Studio with the black. It's got the gold hardware and the black. It's the black and white. It's a badass guitar, man. I had two of them. The second one I have is because I tipped it over when I went to answer my phone. and it put a crack on the back of the neck, the headstock, and I didn't know how deep that crack would be. And we had a high-end corporate gig at the Fairmount Hotel downtown Chicago. And so I was thinking I could take it over to this guy named Kramer Guitar Works in Aurora, Illinois, but he just takes it a long time. And then we had that gig, and at the end of that week, this happened on a Tuesday. By Friday, we had that gig, and so I was kind of hitting the panic button. And Deb says, "Well, you know what? Let's just see how if they got another sale at Guitar Center, and we'll just get another one." So that's what we did, and so I could get through the gig, Because here's the perception with corporate gigs. I love them because they pay, But the reality is, and someone did mention this, and I apologize but from not remembering who said it. But if you walk in a corporate gig with this, right away they're going to say, "Oh, this guy's going to be too loud. No, we can't have none of that evil rock and roll and that metal. We can't have that, And actually, I've recorded a lot of jazz fusion CDs with this because these pickups, they're not super hot pickups. It's a next few series, but they're not super hot pickups, so it's got a clean tone. But you take a look at it, it looks like death metal, and they run. You know what I mean? You walk in with something like this, they say, "Oh, see, that's a nice, respectable boy right there. Yeah, hire him. He's got the gig." So that's why I got the Epiphone. But the Epiphone is a workhorse, man. We got this because we were able to get a killer deal on this guitar. Bought it in January 2014. It's a 2013 model. So, and they knocked off $2,000 or something like that, which is pretty good, But now here's the difference between the amp and a multi-effect unit that has amp modeling that you can run into a powered PA speaker now. So you got a nice punchy sound, and I don't have the gain cranked up all the way. But this amp does have a killer sound, especially when you want that nice sustained feedback, and to roll down your volume a little bit to clean it up a little bit. You know what I mean? You can hear like the amp opens up. Especially like with the neck pickup. I like doing it with the neck pickup. Clean up a little bit. I don't know if you guys could hear that, because I wanted to make sure. R2, R3 locking up. Thank you so much for tuning in, buddy. R2, you got a lot of great information, especially with the trems, man. Very helpful. And you got some killer videos, too, of your playing, man. It's good seeing you play, man. Like, dude, put up more, man. That's inspiring. Trying to catch up with the chats here, see? You know how it is. Dry heat 480, yes. And you know what? We already, tomorrow we got rehearsals. Already going to go over some new material. It's going to be great. Oh, you got a traditional Les Paul. I love the traditionals, man. This is very slight chambered. It's those little holes. It's not the big chunk that they took out that time. You see what I mean? Okay, so now I'm going to go in between neck and bridge, and I'm going to do the coil tap. So here a little bit of the overdrive. Okay, so now I'm going to hit my clean channel here. I don't have the foot switch with this. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to switch to the effect unit. And on the effect unit, I'm going to, basically I just got reverb on. I got all the effects off. And now, quite a bit of reverb. So you can hear what the... Now, this is simulating a Fender Twin. And what I'm going to do is turn on the... so you're going effects unit into, like, yeah, a powered PA. Yeah, PA speaker. Powered PA. Sonia, what's happening? Thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much. Yeah. And there is a reason why I do that. Because a lot of my shows, I have to incorporate the acoustic guitar. And it's an acoustic guitar through a regular guitar amp. Unless it's the PV Vipers. Excuse me. The PV Vipers will take an acoustic guitar. That's why I'll say acoustic. It's meant if you plug an acoustic guitar or a bass guitar or electric guitar. The Boss Katana, when it says acoustic, that's not acoustic guitar simulator. That's if you want to plug an acoustic guitar. And it does a great job of it. Because it's more full range. But obviously with a PA speaker, or it's full range. That's why it'll take. Oh, thank you so much, man. So that's why, and then again, plug in the acoustic guitar, and then when I do tracks, live looping, since a PA speaker is full range, it's going to be able to handle it, of course. So anyways, here would be the overdrive. Now, this is the secret with these units. You can clean it up a little bit. But just like on a regular guitar amp, you got to back down the gain. So on all your amp sims, you got to back the gain down. And then with the overdrive, this is where it gets touchy. Because you bring the gain up a little bit on the amp. And then the rest of the gain will come from like the tube screamer, which is what I got in here. And then you crank the volume on that as well, so it gives you that push. But you're still able to turn your volume down and clean it out a little bit. Yeah, Michael B, I sound like I didn't watch the video yet, but it looked like you were fixing your Epiphone. They're great guitars, man. So that would be like the Fender Twin sound. Now I'm gonna get what is supposed to be like the Marshall type of sound to get it kind of close to the Hughes and Kettner. The Hughes and Kettner has a nice punch. See, back in the day, this is basically what it boiled down to. Mesa Boogie was because I'm talking like mid-70s, and I started buying gear in like 1978. I remember my Magnum Les Paul copy we got at Chicago Music Company. So that's when I saw real Gibson Les Paul right there. I was able to touch it and like, wow, it's a nice guitar, you know. The Fender Twin, the Silver Face, Music Man was coming out, and so it was either the Fender type sound or the Marshall type sound. So it's kind of like that, and then everything else has spawned off of those two. Now I'm going to plug back into the Hughes and Kettner in just a moment. But I'm going to see if I could do that same trick with rolling down my volume with the gain. It's a little bit. It does it a little bit, and now see, here's the debate between digital effect units and amplifiers and analog effect units and analog amplifiers or tube amps. This is where it gets tricky, or I should say touchy. There is truth to that, where the digital units do not clean up as nicely, but it's on the yeah, EJ, drive careful out there, buddy. Like doing the coil tapping on the neck and humbucker on the neck. Yeah, I do too. Yeah. And roll down. Exactly. You roll down that volume. It's a little bit of that bite. So yeah, you'd have to. That's where you have to really get into again on the amp sim. Bring the gain down. If you're using, and I'll use an overdrive, because if I'm using like a Marshall type amp with these, I'll have my gain rolled down to almost like maybe just 1 o'clock. You know, I don't want it real cranked up, because I don't like it. If it's overly saturated, then it's like, you know, if you go to do scales or anything, or you know, just a fast run, it gets like mushy. You know. So what I'll do is, I'll roll my gain down, I'll boost my mids to help cut it through the mix. If I want the type of a distortion like Pantera or something, where the mids are scooped, then I'll go to another channel just for that. Because it does have a killer sound, especially when you're doing metal, you know. You know, but that's with the mids mostly boost. And then again, the tube screamer, the gain is down, the drive is down a little bit, the volume's boosted up, and that, and you get a pretty good punchy sound. And that is coming out of the Roland BA330, a stereo powered PA speaker. It's got 4 6-inch speakers and little tweeters. So now let's plug back into the Hughes and Kettner. There's definitely a difference. There's no doubt about it. But it's out of the convenience sake. The Hughes and Kettner has a lot more muscle, a lot more punch. Both are closed back cabinets. The Hughes and Kettner has about a 1-inch gap across the bottom that's like a port. So it can relieve, you know, a little bit, get a little bit air relief, you know, from the speaker. It's not all just trying to get sound out of one speaker. So it does have a lot of advantages, especially when I want to really crank it up. Yeah. Yeah, it is full range. That's the difference. The secret is, at least with the Digitech, you could choose the output on these things, whether it's could be amplifier or PA, or the amplifier or mixer. They're referring to if you go to direct or, you know, a PA. When you set your settings to mixer, meaning you're changing your outputs, now you're in mixer mode, it filters out the overdrives and distortions. Now, some people might not like that, but there's nothing worse than you get this real hissy sound. You got these tweeters, and that sounds hissy, and it just like sounds like crap. That's where it sounds like crap, you know. I know, can't touch the screen of the new. Yeah, you know, Soda Pop. I'm getting used to all this too myself, man. Oh, thank you, Sonya. I appreciate that. You know, the Gibson has its own unique sound. The Ibanez has its own unique sound. If everything sounded the same, why have all these different companies then, right? You know what I mean? So, yeah, and this Hughes & Kettner, it is a solid state amp. And I've had so many people ask me, and it lights up blue on the top. So many people ask me if it was a tube amp, and I said, no, it's a solid state. The only effect it has is reverb. It's got an effects loop. It does have well, it does have a headphones out, but you know, I don't really use that. Now, if I wanted to try to go direct, I could take the headphones out. It's all how you EQ everything. You'd be surprised how much of a good sound you really can get if you work with the tone. And this is where the debate that Robert's Guitar Dungeon was talking about, one of the myths about vintage gear sounds better than new gear. Well, it's going to be a yes and no, because yes, it'll have its purpose, because a lot of the modeling amp simulators, when they try to model a Fender Twin, they usually try to go for a 65 Twin. So there's something that is said there. It does sound good. But you have to make sure you maintenance it. Otherwise, wires get old, pots get dirty, you know, and stuff after a while, it just deteriorates. And if you're doing any outdoor gigs with them, bugs will get inside there and they'll, you know, maybe eat the wires. Because they love wires, you know what I mean? They're a live wire. The old Roland JC amps took... Yeah, they did. They really did. Because they had that nice spacious sound, Old Man Dan, you know. But you still, the thing is, they took it a lot, they took it a lot better than what you would think normally. And part of that reason is because of that, you know, you had 2 60-watt power amps. That's basically what we had. And one, I believe, was wet and the other one was dry, you know, so you get that spacious sound. But you still, if you did not have a port or any type of tweeters to like balance out, you know, when you plugged into like a PA system or an acoustic guitar amp, then you can it ups the ante even more, you know. I know the distortion on those JC 120s really were not all that great, and then the reissues came out a little bit better, you know. But there is a difference. Yeah, reverb. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, you're absolutely right, R2, R3. Well, the reverb and or delay. Yeah. It definitely does, because I do have a delay on here, and you know, but see, this is not set for a whole bunch of delay. I mean, a reverb. They did have a version of this that had built-in effects, you know, but sorry guys, you know how this is. I'm stretching these out. Yeah, no problem, my friend. We'll be here. You know. Now, for certain rhythms, you don't want a whole lot of slap back. Okay, so it's got a nice punchy little sound there. Okay, now we're going to go back to the effect unit. And I also want to say about effect units, my experience with using them, they do have they're convenient, let's say. So, again, equally to my ears, I could deal with that sound, because I know I could get in there. Mr. Guitar Hack, how you doing? Mr. Guitar Hack, let me go back into this amp here, because what I have here is the Hughes & Kettner. It's the Edition Blue 60R. Yeah. And it's basically a 60-watt combo, closed back cabinet. I know you have the Tubemeister 36, and that amp screams, man. I can't remember what model it was. This was quite a few years back, maybe 10 years ago or so. We plugged into it sounds better, right? Yeah. See, it's got muscle. Oh, thanks, guitar. Sorry about that, guys. We get these dropouts. You know how it is. The guitar amps are gonna have a lot more muscle. But the Hughes Kettner, the half stack I plugged in that one time, it was actually the same model that Tony McAlpine is using and that Alex Lifeson from Rush was using. I forget what they call that model. And the whole half stack was something like $1,800, and it smoked, man. It just had a killer sound. Let's see. Yeah. Yep. The Hughes Kettner definitely's got more. Okay, so now we'll go back to the effect unit. And again, it is going to make a difference on the speaker size when it comes to plugging these things into a 12-inch or a 15-inch power PA speaker. Now, so that's what the effect unit is, and it's just distortion and reverb. Now I'm going to turn off because it is it's a Marshall simulated sound. Oh, Super Strat! I tell you, did nice. I tell you what, man. When Eddie Van Halen came out with that concept, the Super Strat was born. Put a double coil pickup on the Strat and the bridge, and look out. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I played a 339, but I'll tell you what, that 339 you have, Guitar Hack, is one nice guitar, man. No, I love the Ibanez guitars. They're great. I really do. But I would never trade this. I've done enough dumb moves. Now, if I had my old Ibanez Artist again, I would never trade that either, because that was an ass-kicking guitar, you know. I think, you know, guys like you, Guitar Hack, you, Jim Gaitrid, Adam EVH, myself, you know, if you were born in the 60s and you started playing guitar in the 70s, you're from that era. And we do know what real junk really is. When I hear people use that terminology, I'm not trying to knock them, because I understand where they're coming from. There's a lot more to compare to now than what we had back then. But man, if I could take some of these people back when I started playing what I had, they would say, "Oh, now that's really junk." And even with that being said, as I got older, you know, even after I had my Fender Twin and my Marshall Super Lead 100, and I still found my little tiny practice amp I had that was just one knob, clicks on and it turns on, that's it. I took my Ibanez TS-808, original TS-808, Tube Screamer, ran it through, I still have the my DOD analog delay, and ran it right into that little amp, and for lead tone, I was shocked at how good it sounded. I was really shocked. You know, so it really does. Oh, you like that? I do too. Yeah, thanks. Thank you so much, man. This does have the pull pots. It also has this thing on the bridge, on the okay, that's without the like the Tube Screamer. That's the amp synth. But okay, so if I turn my volume down, both volumes are down, I'm gonna call for my neck pickup, and if I pull out my bridge tone, it goes directly to the bridge, just like a bypass. But it's something I really never use, you know. But what is cool with this? You'll definitely hear it with when you pull out all these. You get the you get coil tapping and then phase reverse. So it's almost like if you got a wah pedal and you have it in like in a center. You know what I mean? So if you'll really hear if I call like the Fender sound. Yeah, here we go. Now I'm gonna pull out the neck tone and it's gonna go out of phase. Now, some people think that's a new concept. It isn't, because some of the older Gibson ES335s and the BB King model had that big rotary switch. And I do have an old 1980 Gibson catalog with some of the Les Pauls that had that rotary switch. So I'm missing on the chat here because I'm blabbing, you know what I mean? Oh, Soda Pop, you were born in 79. Okay. 79 was a good year, man. I was a junior in high school. Yeah, I was a junior in high school. And yeah, I had my Magnum Les Paul copy, and then at that year I had just bought my Crate 1R amplifier that was shaped like a crate box. If anyone remembers those. And then later that year is when I bought my Ibanez Artist. Now, here's something, and I guess this is kind of I don't want to call this a challenge. This is like, basically I want to ask everybody out there, anyone who has any of the newer, let's see, I want to mix this. Oh yeah, so yeah. This Les Paul Guitar Hack is a 2013 model. And this is the one that is not overly chambered body. Personally, I'm not a big fan of anything chambered, because to me, a Les Paul is a Les Paul. You know, because that's what we're used to. You pick it up, it's heavy as hell. Get used to it, man it up, you know what I mean? But I understand what Gibson was doing, or what their perception of it. When people started complaining, bad shoulder, bad back, they still want to stay in business. Okay, let's try this concept. But thank God, they only did like, there's only, I guess it's in this area, small little holes, that's it. Because it still feels very solid. I had a guitar student that had a Sunburst Les Paul, and when I picked his up, I picked up pieces of paper that weighed more than that Gibson he had. And it was a real Gibson. It was more chambered. So, yeah, the Veritone, that's right, that's it. Oh, so you, Watchman, you were born in 69, I was born in 63. So, I mean, we're in that same, Old Man Dan, 65, yeah, you know. Oh, nice. Of course, we all know that new strings, you gotta stretch the hell out of them, you know what I mean? Yeah, and these are 10s. Oh, it's got the same feature. Yeah, I think it does. Yeah. Now, Guitar Hack, I think you did the demo with the 2016 and then the 2018 with the P90s. Those P90s sounded good, man. Let's see. 68, 1960s, yeah. Michael B, how you doing? Yeah, you compared them. Yeah, I mean, you know, it is different. Yeah. What brand strings do I use and what gauge? Okay, Watchmen. I will go back and forth between the Ernie Balls and the Diodarios. I like the Diodarios a little bit better because to me they just seem like they last a little longer. Not by much though, but the I'll tell you what, I get a better price on the Ernie Balls. And, you know, when you open up the pack, each string is still separate. You know, if you've opened up the pack of Diodarios, you got to separate them all, and sometimes that's a pain in the ass. Especially if you pop a string at a gig and you got to hurry up and get it done. Which is nice about having any type of a bridge like this. You pop a string, you pull that sucker out, you put the other one in, get it all set up, you're good to go. Done. Stretch that string, done. Now, those are nice. Yeah, the New York XLs. That's what I heard, Guitar Hack. Because now on my acoustics I'll use Diodarios, and especially on my classical guitars, because Diodario seems to be the only brand that makes what's called the extra hard tension for nylon strings. When I do very intense Brascatos technique and even tremolos, when I'm doing, the strings don't wobble so much, and then when I switch to the pick, you know, they don't wobble on, you know, the extra hard tension. Let's see, yeah. So, but I mean, you know what? Everyone is competing for the same market, so everyone is making something good. You know, I just use what I'll use for my liking. Now these picks, they're 1 millimeter. And I'll tell you what, guys, I used to hate these big triangle picks, you know. And then the thought of me going back to use them, and I've been using them for quite a few years now. The only reason is because it saves my fingernails. Even though I will get, you know, a little bit of like a shaving down, mostly from doing rhythms like this. And Old Man Dan, I'm going to be putting some stuff to what you were doing. So that's definitely in the works. But mostly from doing rhythms like that. Not too much from playing muted pattern, muted melodies, you know. But thank God when I play classical guitar, I pluck the string off of this side of the nail. So basically what these do, it helps protect my fingernails. And I know, let me tell you something, guys, if anyone dabbles in classical guitar, it's a great style of music to play. If someone were to say, I want to be able to get more work as a guitar player, I guarantee, you get into classical and flamenco guitar, the doors are going to open up. Because it's like a specialty. But be aware, it's going to be high maintenance on your fingers. I used to do sheet metal, play shows with sheet metal cuts on my fingers, and then, you know, after when I was done working, then you know, do shows. And I saw, let's see, Mason, I use .94 nylon glow in the dark Dunlop. Yeah, you know what? Those are cool too. The best thing is, we are back, my friends. You know what's going on. Yep. Now here's the deal. Yeah, Paul Gilbert likes. I mean, I've tried, you know, 2 millimeters and that, and it's not that I really couldn't play. After a while, you're gonna, when you feel like you're busting strings left and right, it's like, okay, that's not gonna work. And then plus, I've also busted a lot more strings with thinner picks than with the 1 millimeter, because in my perception, you know, I hit the string harder to get more sound projection. And of course that doesn't work because you start popping strings, so you're like back to square one. You know, you find that, you know, right in between spot that's gonna work for you. You know, and then you usually stick with that. But honestly, guys, everything out there is good. Now I'll tell you what, as far as shred guys, because we were all part of the first version, the first influx of shred. You know, the '80s. We were out there gigging. And like a lot of, we were known as street metal because we had jeans and black t-shirts. We didn't have lipstick and poofy hair and stripes and all this other stuff. 88 millimeter. I tried those too. Yeah. So we were known as like street metal, and then part of the old shred generation, Yngwie definitely blew doors down. But guys like Vinnie Moore, Tony McAlpine, and Paul Gilbert, they had a very strong picking hand, And before any of that was coming out, I heard Al Di Meola and John McLaughlin and all those guys, but especially Al Di Meola. That when I heard him play like that, I knew it wasn't trickery. It was all alternate picking. It was like, holy crap! How could someone play clean like that, still have like a distortion, an overdrive? And I mean, when he recorded some of these albums, we're talking from 1974 to 1976, and really no one was out there doing that stuff. And then also with the acoustics. So whether a person likes his music or not, that's irrelevant. But a lot of the shredders got influenced by that. They would listen to him just for that, The Black Diamond Strings, yeah, I remember those. I don't know if they still sell those, but I definitely remember those. Now, I would like to compare this. I did a comparison, but I don't think I recorded it, and I wish I would have. Where I was A-Bing this same patch on this Digitech would be equivalent to like a Fender tube amp, Fender Twin, with a Ibanez tube with a tube screamer. And if it says a TS-808, it's the Ibanez TS-808. Arvin God, how are you doing, man? I appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it, man. But I was doing an A-B with it, and one of my students had the Fender Super Champ XD, and I plugged into that, and I could definitely hear and feel that tube tone. So nothing changed. Nothing's gonna ever replace that. But this type of tone right now is very close to what I was getting out of that Super Champ, and also with the clean sound. The secret is really with these things is controlling your highs. If you're going to use any of the high gain amp sims, if there's presence, controlling that and controlling the gain. Because it's when you crank it up loud, that's where things fall apart. And that's where it's the opposite with a tube amp. The more you drive the tube amp, the more you're driving those tubes, and actually the better that it has. It's got that, it's a breakup sound, but it's warm. You know what I mean? It's not like you just got dumped. Of course, I knocked myself out of tune, right? New strings, man. But the trick is with these, and also add just a slight amount of compression, because it seems the Fender amps, it's almost like there's built-in compression. But where is it? Yeah, the tube amps, they do need to be loud. Yeah, there's the only way. Here's the deal. Back in the day, and we actually were doing this. Mr. Ben Coombs, what's happening? Good seeing you, buddy. Back in the day, if you bought two Marshall 50-watt heads and slaved them together, you get more muscle and a lower volume than if you got one 100-watt Marshall head. I remember one of the bands I was in, and I forget the guy's name. He was buying a Marshall was it JCM? Yeah, it was a JCM 800, but they came out with the white vinyl Torlex. And it wasn't the Jubilee series, I remember that. But it was a white Torlex series, and he was debating if he should get a 50 watt or 100 watt. The 100 watt was more money, but it's 100 watts. Well, he went with the 50 watt, and he was surprised how much muscle that amp had, because 50 watts, the tubes break up quicker than 100 watts. And when you're in the city and you're cranking up, man, I guarantee everyone, the whole neighborhood hears you, and then so do the cops, right? But yeah, honestly, there really will be no substitute for a nice tube amp, you know, whether it's a Fender, and I do love the Fender tube amp sound, man. If there's only 2 amps, it'd have to be just broken down to 2 amps. It'd be a Fender Twin and a Marshall, an AB between those two. Because with the Marshall, as we all know, you know, you get this nice with a Fender Twin, as we know, we get, well, minus the out of tune, right? Stretch these out a little bit. So, I don't think Ben Coombs heard the Hughes and Kettner. Let's see, the old edition blue amp. See, I do have guitar amps, but I just use what I use only because of the convenience. And you know what? If you could pull a good sound out of it, so be it. My friends. So, yeah. Exactly. Ben, I appreciate that. Now, here's the clean sound. Gotta stretch these out. Yeah. Oh yeah, they gotta stretch out. See, well, a lot of times what I'll do, I'll watch you guys' channel, have my headphones on. One way, a good way of stretching strings out, after you stretch them out, picking exercises. The most boring thing, this is why I put my headphones on. I'm doing quads, 16th notes, or to make life even more simple, I'm picking each note 4 times. That's why I could, you know, I do that for a few years, and I guarantee you'll get it good. Is that, well, is what, yeah, Dimebag did, scoop the mids. Yeah, that's what a lot of those guys were doing. They were scooping out the mids. See? But, so yeah, we'll go back to the effect unit, because it's got a tuner in there. But yeah, a lot of guys there were scooping out the mids. Sean Murphy, how you doing? Thank you so much for tuning in, my friend. Just a little chit-chat in here. The debate between an amp and an effect unit. That will always... Here's the deal. I agree with everybody out there. Yeah, Ben, a lot of the metal guys, they scoop the mids. And that. What are your thoughts on doing stuff like that, Ben? Because I think you and I, we got more of, even though it's kind of different styles, it's the similar tone. Because I know you mostly will use your Fender amp, and I'll tell you what, I do love that Fender sound, man. To me, there's really nothing to beat that, you know? The only thing is, when you're playing metal, I like that punchy sound. So, you know what I mean? definitely have issues, but I gotta really, really work this. Ben Coombs. Oh, Michael Bean. I mean, I'll tell you what, guys. Some of the stuff is not bad out there. Now, let's see if anyone remembers this. Aha. Now, you guys from Canada should be able to recognize this. Too flubby for me. Yeah, I hear you. Old Man Dan, yeah. I mean, some of it has, yeah, the 80s tone. Yeah, Rick Emmett was an awesome guitar player. Or maybe I'm reading something. I'm reading something else. But he was still an awesome guitar player. Yeah, I like to cut through the mix too, Ben. That's why I boost my mids. My little trick was I used to buy. I had the Boss graphic equalizer. The GE7. And it had a level on the side, so if you run it through the effects loop, you could boost the level. But I stumble on leaving the level just right where it was and hitting the mids, and it actually, to me, worked better because you wouldn't get these really loud volume jumps. But what you were doing with the mids was just, man, cutting right through when you did your solos, and that was great. But let's see if you guys recognize this. This would be Guitar Hack, Ben Coombs, Terry G, G&Gs, and everyone else, and I think Absolute Mayhem, he's up in Canada. Let's see if you guys recognize this. Yeah, you got it. You got it. You know what album that's off of? That's off of 2112. Tears, I think it was. I remember when I had the album. And that's when we bought albums for, I don't know, like $8. That was top dollar then, And I remember I'd sit there, that album, and Black Sabbath Volume 4, and Paranoid. I know for a fact, the whole first side of 2112 I took out, I was learning. And same with Volume 4 and Don't You Love Technology? You see? Now this is where my debate is with, I love this platform. I hope this platform never goes away. But like these new flat screen TVs, if you lose the remote, where the hell is the on-off switch, What I do miss about VHS and analog, you put it in, you hit play. It's done. You don't have to wait for buffering. You don't have to wait for it to read the CD or the DVD, you know what I mean? You got the popcorn all ready, you got guests over, and you're sitting there for like 20 minutes with a black screen. That's the evening, my friends, right? Oh my God, Mr. Joe Winch broke down in Savannah. Oh, hey, everyone, subscribe to Joe Winch. He's a great guitar player, a great guy. Man, I really appreciate everything he has done for me. Fantastic guy. And, yeah, man, I'm just so glad that he didn't have to go to Myrtle Beach, or he's not in that area. Because I will tell you, hurricanes are very, very scary, because we survived Hurricane Irma. That was our first hurricane. A month after we moved down here comes Irma, And man, when it's one thing to see the stuff on TV, but when you're going through this and you go to this grocery store, you're gonna realize the most valuable thing you're gonna need is bottled water. And when you go to all the stores and all the shelves are bare, holy crap. And then you're driving, and then the gas stations, all the pumps are wrapped with shrink wrap, out of gas, or like back in the 1970s, a line wrapped around the block to get gas, you know. And you only have, in the area we live at, we only have 75, Interstate 75 to get out of here. I mean, we could go across to the other one, but literally what's by us is Interstate 75. Man, that's when you don't know if you're going to live or die. And then all this becomes tubes and all this other stuff. Man, you're not even thinking about that stuff. Yeah. So, now, let's see. But, yeah, at 9 on Facebook or can watch on Johnny B's channel. Yeah, vinyl. Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. That is true. The needles, etc. The vinyl gets scratches. It gets dust. Yeah, Michael B. It's high maintenance. It is high maintenance. You know, TV. Yeah. You're right, Michael B. Now, see, this is what I mean. When we go back in time, the only thing that was cool, I mean, I think maybe it was people of our generation, we have to get used to, there's no more instructions, no on and off, everything's in every different language except English, you know what I mean? So we have to get used to all that. But putting that aside, the convenience of what we have now, man, it's incredible. It really is incredible. Now, here's what I wanted to ask people out there. I really would like for someone who has the Helix, you know, whether it's the high-end model or just the effect model, the Fractal, the Axe Effect, or the 11 rack, or any of those high-end rack mounts. If they could put something up on YouTube with them demonstrating the octave, it's octave divider. And let's say if you're trying to play bass, you know what I mean? Because this is where, until I hear any of those units do this, and I know this could sound like a real crazy statement. I know this is, and part of it, you're right, okay. But this is where this Digitech, in my opinion, in one area, where it just annihilates all that stuff for way cheaper, is with this bass. Now I guarantee, if you hear that, or I'll just keep playing it, you know. Oh yeah, because you know what? I think you might be talking about Larry Mitchell. He was on, yeah. Yeah, Larry Mitchell is a monster playing. I remember seeing videos of him demoing one of the Zoom effect units. And I tell you what, well, a lot of those guys I'd love to get in a room with, because they have a real diverse style. You know what I mean? It's not one-dimensional. And this is what I mean. I love to shred, and I know for a fact if I wanted to, within 1 week, guarantee, within 1 week, I could take all these sweeping exercises and get it a lot better. I'm not going to say I'm going to out-shred it. I never want to say I'm going to out-shred anybody. No. I'll take it up by miles. But if it's going to sacrifice melodies, if it's going to sacrifice all the other abilities I have, then that's okay. Let somebody else do that. Because if a person wants one aspect, if you want to get a lot of work, the more diverse you are, the more work I guarantee you'll be able to get. Guarantee it. No question about it. But at the same time, let's say you never want to play out. It's kind of like eating food. There's different types of foods. When you paint pictures, there's different types of paintings, paints to use. So with technique and different styles, this is what opens up the doors. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and play this a little bit, and if you have headphones on, or if you have your computer where you got a bass, a subwoofer, this is what I mean by not just an octaver or an octave pedal, but something that has very sub lows. That's what this Digitech has, you know. So I mean, you can actually feel it, and the bigger the speaker and the louder it is, I guarantee you would swear there would be a bass player, a bass guitar in there, or at least very, very, very close to it. I don't think any of those units do that. And some people would ask me, I had people ask me, well, what is your obsession with this? And I would tell them, for me personally, I used to do a hell of a lot of corporate gigs. And I get hired out to do these gigs, and I mean, maybe I could count maybe on one hand, minus the thumb, and still have a finger or two left, how many times I was not asked to stay an extra hour. I'd always get asked, hey, he sounds good. Can you stay an extra hour? Yeah, here's extra money. So, this is where the power of improvising comes in. The power of being able to do live looping. If you need to add drums, I know it's not a drum. You know, I come from that time. I come from that era when we didn't have this stuff. And yeah, I love live drummers and, you know, real amplifiers and real bands. You know, that's where I come from. Nothing will ever replace being able to bounce ideas off of each other. But you know as well as I know, it's when you have the shows booked, you cannot have downtime. This is the problem I would always have, downtime with people. And I really don't like being like that, you know. But, you know, if someone's going to pay me X amount of dollars, you know, and then this is your dividing line. You want to be a professional musician, you have to be professional. You know, it's no longer I want to be as good as the kid down the block, even though if the kid down the block is better than the stars, then yeah, you go after that because you want to build up. And you do this as it's called friendly competition. You're not trying to be better than anybody. You're trying to build yourself up so that when you go out in that real world, man, you can handle it. Because my personal experience is I have done 4 hours straight through, 5 hours straight through, and I was able to pull all these different styles of music out of, you know, my head. And thank God for this stuff right here, because this is what was able to help. Because of course I could, you know, when I'm at the restaurant, I'm doing a lot of classical guitar. It's one guitar tone. But people do like that variety, and that's what you'll need, you know. So that's what my obsession is with this Digitech, because it has that sub-low bass. When I do looping, it actually sounds like the band is there. They're happy. Hey, then they want to pay you more. You're good to go. Now, again, none of this is meant to replace anybody, but I really don't know how many people have. I can't possibly be the only person that's been in these situations. There's no way. There's no way. You know what I mean? So there's got to be people out there that say, yeah, Dave, I've been in that position too, you know? So that's my question. And I really think these companies, they need to be very, very in tune with this. Because running this idea with you guys, and, you know, what your thoughts are on this. We have a lot of great guitar players out there, and we have a lot of great guitar players getting endorsement deals, and we got a lot of great guitar players out there getting stuff to demo, right? But if everything is free, or a fraction thereof, these companies are not going to be able to survive. That's just common sense. That's why you know, when we have the money, we always make sure we pay cash, we have that money saved up, and then we pounce. We'll buy stuff that we know is going to make us money and that we like. So let's say if I say to Deb, I'm done playing out live, I just want to do this for fun, you know, I can still have fun and, you know, buy expensive gear if I want. But don't you think if you're going to drop anywhere between $800 to $2,000, don't you think you should get more than chorus, delay, reverb, reverse reverb? I mean, shouldn't you get a little bit more? And my point is, I'd love to get together with all the engineers and just run them. Hey, look, how much would it cost for you guys to make, even if it's just me, one person, something that could duplicate what this does? Because I'm out there with these types of gigs, and this is another segment of live playing that exists. I'm wondering if these manufacturers would really think about something like that and say, hey, you know what? We cannot close these doors to this group of people, because there seems to be a movement going on. It's like with, well, with the looping, you know, a lot, and you know, with plugins. Okay, it's the equivalent of all these computer manufacturers saying, no, we're not gonna make plugins because who in their right mind is gonna use a plugin? Who in their right mind is going to make money off of YouTube? Who in their right mind is going to be able to do this stuff from their house? No, they got to go out. They got to get you know, a big Marshall stack, and they got to this. And it's not to take anything away from that sector, but you know, these companies, they're seeing a trend. Likewise, in the live performance sector, there is a trend. It's always been there. It'll always be there, providing that companies have the money. When they have extra money and they want to have a Christmas party, they'll hire musicians. Well, they'll hire DJs too. You know what I mean? So again, I'm back, right? So yeah, so I there's only one person that got close, and when I mean close, I mean it like this, you know, not like this, like that. And that's our good friend, and it's no disrespect to him, because he's not building the Helix effects. Robert Baker did a video where he did duplicate a little bit of the octave divider. Now, I had my headphones on, and this is really, again, where you can really hear this stuff. As expensive as that unit is, just for that one special effect, that little added element, it did not have and I know what people say, maybe Dave, you need to hire a bass player. Well, guess what? You know, I mean, there's a lot of bass players. You gotta hire a 10-piece band. Remember the big band jazz bands out there? Remember when weddings, and I think Dave Nesdahl, I hope Dave Nesdahl watches some of this stuff, because I think he's a good guy. He said something, man, that I was really interested. He used to play in these wedding bands. And I remember when you had an actual wedding band, and you would be able to make a killing, I mean. And you had a whole horn section and everything. Now it's a DJ. So, I think what's happened, like, and I don't mean to be jumping subjects here, guys, but run this thought through you to see if you can see the connection here. The guitar music is alive in our community, and it'll always be alive. Yeah, you hear a kitty cat. Yeah, that's the babies we just got. They're like this big, you know? Maybe, yeah. And our other cat, Moses, I call him Boogs, because he boogie butts around. I think he gets his feelings hurt, so it's like, oh, here we go, you know? But yeah, I think what has happened with guitar, as far as it being mainstream, without country, mainstream rock, metal, where people go out and, you know, dude, I'm gonna wait in line for 4 hours to see this metal band play, and the place is packed. We have seen a decline. There's no question about it. But you know what? It's no different than in the 1950s when that rock and roll music came out and pushed out the big band era. It's like, you know, things go in circles, you know what I mean? Yeah, Ben, you got a really nice guitar there, man. I really dig that headstock. Yeah, you know, we've done a lot of weddings, because also, and you know, I'll do like the ceremony, because I do classical guitar, and I love playing classical guitar, man. You know what I mean? Oh, thank you so much. It's again, it's just being able to have a diverse style of playing. That's, and enjoying it. That's what it is. If you don't enjoy it, it's not going to happen. Guaranteed, because you're going to be forcing yourself. But yeah, we've seen a decline in that, and so this is why the club owners, they don't know what to do. Let's hire a DJ. So we got a group of people come out one night, they want to hear dance music. Okay, so we think tomorrow the same group of people come out. No, then you get some people, I want some classic rock. Okay, now we look for a classic rock band. Where do we find them? Oh, and if you notice, the stages have been shrinking. This is another thing. This is exactly why I'll do what I do, because I see what's going on out there. And again, getting back to these manufacturers, if they could only say, you know what, we're not going to get rid of our amps, because that is who we are. Marshall is Marshall, Fender is Fender, Peavy's Peavy, and the whole shebang there, But the debate between an amp and an effect, when you don't have that space, I've been in a lot of those situations. Can you learn to accept something and kind of like, okay, maybe I could mess around with it? And if your amps were to break down right now, and this weekend you got the gig, there's no backup system except either a Helix or a Digitech or anything like that. Can you pull a good sound out of there? I guess really that's what it comes down to. The answer really should be is, yeah, you would be able to pull a good sound. Something that it's never going to replace your sound, but at least you could get something good out of it, so you don't call the club owner, I can't make the gig, or worse, and I mean this is worse, guys, you got a high-end corporate gig. ExxonMobil used to hire us. You got to call up the person doing that event, I can't make the gig because my amp broke down. There goes $600 down the toilet right there, just for you. You know what I mean? I'm telling you, man, you can make some money out there doing those gigs. You can definitely make some money out there. But that's really what I wanted to touch on on this live chat tonight, because I was trying to hook up my Peavey Bandit Trans Tube first edition, and it was having some issues. So I figured, well, let's do the Hughes and Kettner, because that does have a great sound. Just so you can hear the difference. And yeah, there is a difference between an amp and the effect unit. There really is. But I guess basically, ask yourself, if you had to do a gig, and this gig is what's going to help make or break you, and if all you had to do is take an effect unit and run it through the PA system, can you pull a good sound out of that? I know you guys would be able to. Because they're making the stuff to sound good for that specific reason. And again, it'll never replace an amp. None of it will ever be able to replace a full band. But these are different times, and we'll hope that it does turn around so that there's more and more bands. They'll start to pay bands. A DJ has a purpose, and I'm not saying that they're irrelevant. I'm not saying that they're not important. Okay, but no matter how much of personality that person has, you're still taking a finger, whatever finger, and the button says play and then stop. You know what I mean? I don't think we have to put a YouTube video, instructional video, play and stop. You know what I mean? Where we have to learn how to actually play. And again, it's not to insult anybody, guys. Just seen a lot of changes that are like, it blows my mind with some of the stuff I see out there, and I'm sure you guys too are like, holy crap, now what's going on? Poor club owners pulling their hair out of their head. If a clown twisting balloons is the new thing, guess what they're going to have? Clowns twisting balloons on a unicycle. You know what I mean? Maybe that'll be my next gig, huh? For a live cover band rock is, yeah, it is. Now, we got more material that we're working on tomorrow, which is going to be great. And we will continue doing our covers, but I personally don't see it being a problem doing original material. And I think I've said this before. A good example. All right, Ben, it's good seeing you. I'm gonna be closing out too, man, in just a few minutes here. Thank you for tuning in, my friend. You totally rock. Canucks with guitars totally rocks, man. And I forgot what I was just saying. Now, see, getting ready to tune out here. It happens, man. It happens. But yeah, everything will come in circles. It goes in circles and cycles. It'll come all back again. But it is a different platform out there. It really is. And maybe it was something I've said in the chat that's gonna remind me of. Oh yeah, the demographics with the covers. Okay, so I have no problems doing covers. If you would take the band Greta Van Fleet. Now, I know people say, well, they're ripping off Zeppelin. Well, Zeppelin was ripping off some of the blues, I mean, we could always, that would start a whole different other day of live chats there. But they're a good example of a band doing their music modeled off of something else so people could say, hey, I could identify with that sound. I think that's Led Zeppelin. Right away, I want to buy it. Oh, no, that's not Led Zeppelin. Okay, now I either hate these guys or I love these guys. You know what I mean? It really is proof in the pudding. If you sound good, you're going to get people that eventually are going to like this, because what is happening out there in the clubs, not everybody is listening to every cover song out there. They could care less. You have some people that love music, and they'll sit there and they'll listen. And then you have people that like their favorite song, and they'll listen to a few bars of their favorite song, and then their buddy comes in, and then they start talking about the game while their favorite song is playing in the background. That's what's going on out there, So it'd be kind of good to take that chance. That's why I'm not opposed to the decline in me doing covers. I just want to see everyone make money, because again, they can come after you if they wanted to. There is legal. It is theirs. We just hope that they don't, right? They give us that fair shot, Anyways, guys, I gotta get going here. My signal is gonna drop. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. You guys make this whole platform worthwhile. Mr. Bruce, how are you? I know I'm getting ready to sign off. I don't know how far in the chat I am with saying hi, but yeah, you guys really make this worthwhile. And please sub to everybody's channel. Check out Robert's Guitar Dungeon. He's a great guy. Got great information. Ben Coons, Mr. Joe Wentz, the Joe Wentz Project. Subscribe to him. He's a great guy. Guitar Hack, Adam EVH, Tim Dietrich, and the whole shebang. We will again start with our spotlighting you guys' music. I'm putting this whole program together, and just give me the yay or nay if you want me to do your song, and we'll play it, man. There's no money involved, my friends. It's all about sharing and keeping things alive and desiring to inspire. So we'll see if we can go live tomorrow. I do have rehearsals. I will let people know if I can. If not, we will do a definitely live on Saturday. Okay, my friends, you have a great evening. Rock on. As always, keeping things real. Desire to inspire. Until next time, you take care. Have a great night. God bless. See you later. Bye-bye.